with the Suns, though, Wolf, we're through the trade deadline now. Obviously, we're kind of into that, potentially awkward era, or just kind of the wait and see era is maybe the better way to put it. There's a story on ESPN that came out going into the weekend, and it's long, right? And they're talking about Jimmy Butler, and they're talking about the Luka trade. They're talking about all these, big names that moved, and they're talking about the one big name that didn't move, that was almost on the move, and it was Kevin Durant. Okay, and they go through and they really, you check it out. I mean, I'll read you a couple parts. They talk about how the Warriors kind of, I don't know if they tried to play the Suns or what they were trying to do. Okay, I'm going to read you a couple quotes.
Okay.
It says, quote, Durant told Steph Curry it didn't feel right and that this wasn't the time to revisit their basketball partnership, according to multiple sources with knowledge of the conversations. He added he was happy in Phoenix and he wasn't looking to play elsewhere. It was a soft no, one that discouraged the Warriors' decision makers but didn't fully deter them from pursuing talks with the Suns. They hoped Durant's feelings about a reunion might change once he learned the extent to which Phoenix had engaged in trade conversations with multiple teams without involving him, unquote. So take that for what it is, but it sort of seems like Golden State was just going to kind of be like, hey, aren't you unhappy in Phoenix? Hey, shouldn't you be unhappy in Phoenix? Now come to Golden State. Golden State obviously got Jimmy Butler out of all this for basically nothing, and Durant is still here. But this right here is what is setting the stage now for the final 2 months of this season.
Yeah, man. What does this make you think, Basonians? Of course, when you hear this news and the way that Luke is breaking all of this down, if in fact it did develop the way that he just said that it did, and I have no reason to question that whatsoever. Kevin Durant, of course, is going to be traded this summer. That's what I hear right now.
I guess. I mean, it seems like the Warriors tried to force that, basically.
Again, it was a situation that's very similar to the Luka Doncic deal. Once again, they just didn't tell him. They traded him. That's what they did. And word got out. There was some type, and this was wise, I would say, from the Warriors' perspective right now, wanting to know, hey, are you okay with this? And how did they do that? It's Steph Curry.
Yeah. That part's smart. I mean,
that is really smart.
But the second part, and
the
again,
grapevine is vast and varied, is it not, Luke?
It is, and this is some of the. It's fascinating how some of the stuff played out behind the scenes, because you had the Luka stuff, which was so top secret, partially because Dallas knew everybody was going to be like, "What a horrible trade." Anthony Davis is already hurt, but now you had this where Golden State was like, "No, we'd rather this got out, because if it doesn't, then we may have a guy that doesn't want to be here." It was interesting to hear Shams. I think it's Shams that wrote this. Ramona Shelbert and Brian Windhorst with Shams reporting. So any of those three. It was interesting to hear how it was written, though, where it was like a soft no from KD because he's still happy in Phoenix. Not like, maybe that was past tense. I don't know, because this was last week. But Golden State saying, okay, well, we're going to wait and see if you get upset when you hear how much they're trying to trade you.
Just listening to this right now, I'm thinking of Steve Kerr. I'm thinking of Steve Kerr, and I'm thinking of Steve Kerr because he's on the tactical level as a head coach.
He's playing 3D chess.
He's on the tactical level. Okay, you can have this idea up here. Hey, this is what we're going to do. You can do it. You can have that strategic idea, that strategy. You can have that. That's great. But tell me about the people that actually have to make that happen. Tell me about the people that have to work with other people on a tactical level to make it happen. And that's Steve Kerr. And that also involves players as well. So to me right now, I was thinking of Steve Kerr. And if in fact any type of hesitation came out whatsoever, any type of hesitation, I would not want that player walking in this locker room.
It's smart. I mean, this is why Steve Kerr has been as successful as he is. He's a smart guy. It's not just that they have Steph Curry and that they had KD for a while and Klay Thompson for a while and even Draymond. It's smart. It's that last sentence that keeps getting me, though, because the first part is like, okay, we're going to trade for this guy, but we want to know that he wants to be here. That last sentence, though, is like, and if not, this might just destroy the Suns. And that's kind of what that said. Now, there's more from this story. It says, and this is a long story. Like I said, I'm just pulling a couple snippets out. Quote, but this time the Suns were left in the cold, and to make matters worse, they have a mess to clean up with Durant, who wanted to stay in Phoenix and make it work, but instead saw his name in trade rumors. Durant was blindsided, as Sharania reported on NBA Today, that the Suns had trade discussions about him, but ultimately Durant did not change his mind about reuniting with the Warriors, unquote. So it sounds like based on the story, the Warriors wanted to get him. He was like, probably not. The Warriors were like, well, let's see if you change your mind when you realize the Suns have been trying to trade you. And then he still didn't want to go. So am I to assume he's going to want to stay past this summer, or what's going on now?
So let's go ahead and try to project ourselves. This is going to be dangerous, is it not? Project ourselves into KD right now. Why do you think he didn't want to go to the Warriors? Why? I mean, I think there's an obvious answer to it. In regard to, well, you know what, hey, listen, Wolf, maybe he's worried about his legacy. And what if he went to the Warriors and, you know what, they did well. And, I still don't think that was going to push him over the top in terms of being a championship team. But it would have put them in a conversation with that, I think.
You put KD and Steph on the same team? Yeah.
Yeah, I've still got to see it. I have to see it once again to believe it.
But let's put it this way. You put KD and Steph on the same team right now, I think that team has a better chance to win the title than the Suns as currently constructed.
Why would you say that?
He's already won them with Steph before.
Yeah, because they already have leadership on that team.
And what are they really – I understand this is not the same Golden State from a few years ago. Yeah. And I don't think if KD went there, they were going to win the title anyway. But if I'm KD, if I was just chasing a title, I'd be like, okay, well, I know it works there because I've played there before. It's not like he's going to some other place. It's not like he's going to Philadelphia or some other – like he's going to a place where he's won a title. It's the same coach. It's still Steph. It is still Draymond. Like the infrastructure is still there. So you want my honest opinion, I think he still felt like he could make it work here up until last week. Now, I don't know now. I don't know.
Yeah, once again, it's a fascinating study right now on how professional sports work. And not only that, but, chemistry and the thought of leadership. And, I look at KD and he doesn't really believe in player leadership. He's not a convicted player that believes leadership and player leadership is really important. Or he's got a misperception as to what it is, I think. He doesn't value it. That much, I believe, is a true statement. Hey, just go out and play. Just do. Go out and do. Give all that you have and hoop and ball. And I love that about KD. That's who he is. You have to lead first by doing. You cannot be a leader. How many times have you heard me say this? It's just the truth. You cannot be a leader, brothers, if you don't do. You know what you're going to be? A pariah in the locker room. If you're a guy who's da-da-da-da, he's going to jaw, you're going to say this, you're going to say that, you're going to walk up on dudes and you stink, you're not playing well yourself, guess what, man? It's just not going to happen. You're going to be mocked in the locker room. But you have to do first. But again, leadership is about holding others accountable by holding yourself more accountable. Does that make sense?
Here's James Jones. This is pregame on Friday. Was asked about if he needs to smooth something over now with his players that were in trade discussions.
No, it's ongoing dialogue with the team. Look, when you get to the trade deadline, every team has these moments of frustration, these moments of uncertainty. And so you talk about that early in the season going into the preseason. You talk about that going into the trade deadline. And you talk about it going into the playoffs. It's an ongoing conversation. And it's not just something you respond to at like these types of pivotal moments. It's a daily conversation about how you continue to stay focused on the task at hand, which is playing basketball at a high level and winning basketball games.
See, it's just me. I don't think there's anything wrong with fielding calls about Kevin Durant because your team's 500. But I do think it would be smart to have some conversations now, just to see where everybody stands. Like you can live in the whole, well, I shouldn't have to have that conversation, or you could just have the conversation and prevent problems 2 months down the line.
Yeah, you could, or of course, you give KD the opportunity to nix the deal. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Are you going to have a conversation now? Yeah, you're going to have to. But KD's already said it. He knows. This is what being a pro is. This is what happens. Your name is brought up in all of these trade conversations. This is what happens. Now, I have the right to speak on that and whether or not I agree with this and whether or not I approve of this trade. He has the right to do that if he's tipped off that it's coming down. Isn't that right, Luka Doncic?
But Golden State tipped him off, right? That's the team that tipped him off. I mean,
with a buddy.
He didn't say no because he hates Golden State. He said no because he wanted to stay in Phoenix. And that's why I would still have the conversation and be like, hey, look, this is just business. You know that, right? Do you still want to stay here? Because it's going to determine how we go forward with stuff because they got some big decisions to make now.
Now they have conversations.
Yeah, now they need to have conversations.
Now they need to have those conversations.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.